Shalom and welcome to day 40 of the counting of the Omer, and it's the Rabbi's blog, and the end is almost in sight. We've only got another 9 days or so to go now, and one of those is a Shabbat. So we're on our final countdown towards the end. The Shavuot, of course, is a week Friday, so we are very close to the end. Today, I want to really touch upon something that I mentioned in a slightly longer written commentary and response today, which is already posted on the Dat Yeshua Facebook page. Because the times we're living in, and I suppose from having read so many different blogs and forum comments and emails, and just with a level of consternation of the way it seems believers and people in general are reacting to the crisis, it's fairly clear to me that we're all suffering a little bit of a lockdown, mental implosion going on here in some ways that we are beginning to see in a slightly distorted way. I guess this is to be expected in some form, and there is, of course, grave concern for people's mental well-being right now, where we can't get out as much as we would like to. But there are lots of casualties, I think, in this present moment, and not just the physical ones. One of the casualties that you see going on around is that the faith of many in science is crashing around them. And it's interesting when you watch the news reports and bulletins, how many people are just saying, yes, but science has always told us what is true. Science is giving us the guidance through this. And yet suddenly with all the science around this has actually often proved inconclusive, or that people have changed their minds, and experts have said this and a week later they say that, and so on. But people seem to have this view, this monolithic view, that science will give all the answers in this kind of absolute way. And in fact, although the faith of many in science is crashing and wobbling, in many ways it's actually revealing what science really truly is. It's research based upon evidence of hypothesizing and creating a theory and testing it and going back and remodeling it and coming up with something else, which is exactly what the scientists, of course, are doing during this time. There's no great conspiracy in this. They are merely trying to find some scientific truth and reality in the material world to understand the crisis and the virus and everything else. But the problem is that we've got used to seeing science as being an absolute thing, almost in a religious sense of that word. And of course, there are many within the scientific community who would be happy for that prevailing understanding of what science is to be accepted. But much of this is now crashed. We don't know who to trust anymore. We don't know what to believe anymore. Who do you go to? What do you believe? Who now is going to tell us the truth? What is the truth? And it's this kind of questioning which is really, I think, beginning to eat into people's mental well-being right now. They're trying to work all this out. Things which they've taken for granted, that they've lived according to and their lives have been structured on, is crashing around them. They don't know. The media, can't trust them. Politicians, certainly can't trust them. Can't even trust the scientists anymore. Who is telling us the truth? Where do we go for the truth? Where do we go for something that is solid, reliable, that is going to actually form and frame our world and our references and our values, which will actually overcome any kind of situation like this and still keep on telling us the truth, that isn't going to change according to the weather or according to the worldly situations, culture, or whatever else? Because one of the things that people are often saying right now is that, when all this is over, we will go back to normal, or it'll be a completely different normal. No one really knows quite what they're expecting. I am absolutely sure about this. When all of this is over, we cannot just go back to what was normal before. There's going to be a recalibration. There needs to be a recalibration of our lives, our society, our culture. We simply cannot just continue in the same direction. And I think because the faith in humanity, in scientists, in the ability of man and scientists to tell us the truth and reality, because that is being shaken, then maybe there is now a vacancy. Maybe there's a vacuum which true faith in God and the scriptures and the Torah can come in to fill. People often talk about one of the casualties of the Second World War was our faith in humanism, that man could solve all of mankind's problems. And yet what we discovered at the end of the Second World War through the Holocaust was some of the most despicable, evil crimes. And our faith in humanity was knocked. And I think we're in a similar crossroads in our culture and society now. Our faith in the ability of science, maybe, to tell us all the answers to humanity is being knocked. Where do we go for our anchor points? Where do we go for our plumb line of truth in all of this? There is a simple answer. We have to return to God. We have to return to the Torah. We have to return to the written scriptures to be led by the Spirit of God in all of this. That is where the recalibration now needs to happen. We need to ditch the fake truths of humanity, the fake truths that our cultures come up with of, as long as it makes you feel good, it must be right. These are all platitudes which humanity has come up with to try and make itself feel better. They are not the truth. We must return to the truth of the scriptures, God's revelation to us as mankind. Then we will have something by which we can live. Everything else has to go. It's time to recalibrate. Everything that isn't in line with the Word of God needs to go. Thank you for listening. There's a written longer version of this already available on the Adapt Yeshua Facebook page, as I was contemplating this earlier today, with some more thoughts and ideas that will be helpful to you. Thank you for listening, and I will see you again tomorrow. Toda rabba lehitraot. Bye.